Let's start learning grammar and continue our topic verbs. Till now, we have discussed definition of a verb, function of a verb in a sentence, basic sentence structure, basic forms of verbs, and we had also discussed all the finite verbs in detail. In this video, we will understand non-finite verbs in detail. I have already taught you that a non-finite verb is a verb that is not finite. Now, what is finite? Finite means limited in extent, or you can say a verb form which is limited to a specific tense, number and person. So, whichever finite verb we had discussed in the previous video, they all talk about specific tense, specific number and specific person. But non-finite verbs are not action words. They do not inform us about tense, number and person. Therefore, non-finite verb is never the main verb in a sentence. There are three types of non-finite verbs: gerunds, infinitives and participles. Let's understand them one by one. First of all, let us talk about gerunds. A gerund is an ing form of verb that functions as a noun. Now, it is very easy to identify a gerund in a sentence. Let's understand gerunds with the help of these three examples. Running is fun. Swimming is my favorite sport. My sister loves cooking. In all these three sentences, the words running, swimming and cooking look like action words, or you can see that these words look like verbs. But if you will try to understand the meaning of these sentences, you will notice that these three words are not used to talk about an action, but these are all used to talk about the name of an activity, and that is why they are nouns. Now, let us talk about another kind of non-finite verb which are called infinitives. Now, what is an infinitive? Infinitives are 2 plus base form of a verb which function as a noun, adjective or an adverb, and they do not change as per the tense, number and person. For example, I love to read. In this sentence, to read is a noun. And why it is noun? Because it is name of the activity. He was asked to leave the room. In this sentence, to leave is an adverb as it is qualifying the verb asked. Let's take one more example. I have a paper to write. Here, to write is an adjective as it is qualifying the noun paper. You can check it by changing the tense of the sentence. If I put had in place of have, to write will remain to write. I can also replace I with we. Still, there will be no change in the verb to write. We have a paper to write. We had a paper to write. So, there is no change in this infinitive. It does not change as per the tense, number and person. Let's talk about another kind of non-finite verbs which include participle. Now, participle is not the main verb in the sentence. It doesn't act as a verb in a sentence. Rather, it is a word formed from a verb. As you can see here in the examples, going, gone, being, been. and are used as an adjective or a gerund in a sentence. They are divided into present participles, past participles, and perfect participles. Let's talk about present participles. Now, present participle is created by adding ing to the base form of the verb, and it functions as an adjective. Do not get confused between gerund and present participles. Most of the children, they get confused between gerund and present participles. In gerund, we have ing form of verbs which act as nouns, but present participles are ing form of verbs which act as adjectives. Let's understand this with the help of examples. A smiling man is stronger than a suffering man. Here, the word smiling and suffering are describing the noun man, thus acting as adjectives. In the second example, everybody worships the rising sun. Here, the word rising is present participle because it is qualifying the noun sun and thus does not play the role of a verb but plays the role of an adjective here. And that is why we can call these words smiling, suffering, and rising as present participles. Let us talk about past participles. Now, past participle is the third form of the verb which acts as an adjective. Example, the broken glass cut my foot. Here, cut is main verb, but the word broken is third form of break, and here it is describing the glass. So it is acting as an adjective here, and thus it is past participle. Similarly, in this example, he had swollen eyes. The word swollen is the third form of the verb swell and is acting as an adjective for eyes. Thus, it is called past participle here. Now, let us talk about the third one, that is perfect participle, which talks about completed action in active form and in passive form. In active form, it takes having plus third form of verb, and in passive form, it takes having been plus third form of the verb. Let's understand this with the help of an example. Having finished my work, I went to play. Here, first action of finishing the work completed and the second action went to play started. So, having finished is the example of perfect participle in active form, or you can say active voice. Let's take one more example to understand perfect participle in passive voice. Having been beaten up, he began to weep. Here, the first action of beaten is completed and the second action of weeping started. So, having been beaten is the example of perfect participle in passive voice. So, this is all about non-finite verbs. Let's revise quickly the difference between finite and non-finite verbs. Finite verbs act as a verb, but non-finite verbs do not act as a verb. Finite verbs act as the main verb of the clause, whereas non-finite verbs they act as noun, adjectives or adverbs. Finite verbs indicate number, person and tense, whereas non-finite verbs do not indicate number, person and tense. Here you can pause the video and relate all these examples with these features of finite and non-finite verbs. I hope all your doubts related to verb is clear and you have learnt verbs in detail. For more videos, keep watching and keep learning.